Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming for our syllabus. As I introduced myself earlier, I'm going into my third year of teaching EDHE 105, but I've taught 2 sections previously and 2 of EDHE 101, and my syllabus has changed every time. I don't have a standard format because I haven't found one that worked for me. But those of you who have know that students will still come to you even though you've gone over it. Can you tell me when this is due? Can I turn this in late? And all of us are thinking it's in the syllabus, right? Okay, hence our topic. So everybody should have a small group of sticky notes. Is anyone missing any? So everyone's got their sticky notes? Okay. I know we have quite a few new folks in here to teaching, whether it's 105 or 305. So what I'd like you to do is questions, because that was the hardest part for me, was putting together the syllabus. So any questions you have about the syllabus, please take this moment to jot them down.
Or about this training.
Or about this training. When you're done, if you let me know, I'll collect them. We'll stick them up here, and hopefully we'll be able to address the questions that you have.
Are you talking to me?
Then at the end, I've got handouts. I did kill a tree, sorry, I like stuff. But I've got a nice handout that'll just highlight the essentials of what we covered today. Anybody done? Can I start collecting questions? Any questions? Okay.
In cognitive terms, we call that activating the topic. So, I use this kind of activity a lot to get students on track, so they have an opportunity to ask questions before the class even starts, and then it gives us an opportunity to make sure things are covered at the end for a good summation, opening and closing for the lesson. Another way you can use this is at the end of a class, for a summative type of activity, and ask students to write down any questions that they did not ask or wanted to ask but were afraid to ask, and then have them stick it on the door as they walk out. That way you have something to address for the next class. So it's a good way to get students to start to think about the topic, allow you to know what students are thinking, and for the shyer students who don't want to speak in front of a crowd, it allows them some participation as well. Okay, so syllabus. Well, hopefully we'll cover all the questions that you have on your post-it. And if not, we'll address them specifically. Now, how many of you know what a syllabus is? Oh. So we already have professionals in here. How many of you have seen really good syllabi? How many of you have seen really bad syllabi? Gotcha. Okay. Let's start out with criticisms of syllabi. Those of you who have experienced as a student or even as a professional a really bad syllabus, what would you think was one of the major errors or the major detractor for the syllabus?
Too much information.
Too much information. You know, in some schools, I know at the university, in some schools like School of Ed, some of you are from School of Ed, you know, the syllabi weigh about 25 pounds. They're big. Anybody else?
Sort of the opposite, not enough information.
Not enough information. You've been to those classes where there's basically maybe one page, 3/4 of a page, and that's your syllabus. That's what you're supposed to go by. Anybody else?
I had an instructor once make a syllabus in front of us
Ah.
on a notebook piece of paper and then scan it and hand it to us.
There you go. There you go. Just to keep you guessing through the semester. Somebody obviously told them they had to have a syllabus, so here you go. Well, the syllabus is actually forms a foundation, and what I believe, between a foundation for the relationship between you and the students in your class. Some people want to call it a contract. That's fine too. An agreement between you and the students, but I like to think of it more as developing a relationship because each classroom is a culture. It really is a culture. So you don't have enough time to sort of grow into the culture, so you have to establish some sort of ground rules for the culture to begin with. What are your roles? What students should expect from you? What do you expect of the students? Behavior, assignments. You need to give enough information that students kind of know what's happening each day they come to class. I mean, they know what they're supposed to be doing. It's not constant guesswork. And the less guesswork you have for them, as far as what they're supposed to be doing in class, as their assignments, activities, events, grading, the less trouble you're going to have as far as students trying to renegotiate things throughout the semester, students missing assignments, you getting bombarded with emails all at once trying to answer this question, and you keep having to respond, well, it's on the syllabus, but kind of thing. So the more information that you have, the better. So what are some basic things that you have to have on the syllabus? You're given a model. Dr. Knight and the rest of the EDHE 105, 305 crew, I hope you don't mind my calling you a crew, have developed model syllabi. So you have some things to go by. What you need to make sure that your syllabus has, though, is course name, obviously, because somebody doesn't know which course they're taking. The semester and the date created. I put the date created up there. Very important because many of you who have taught the same class over and over again, and you may have been in classes where the professors taught the same course over and over again, and you'll get the course and you'll get all the stuff on there and I'll say 1992 as far as the date created. Then you get into this whole issue of, okay, what have I changed since 1992, that kind of thing. It does, once you have to put that date up there, it does make you go back over your syllabus and make sure everything's correct for the current year. So make sure that you have your course name, semester, when it's created, make sure you have, of course, your name and your contact information and your office hours. Some academic, well, most academic departments require office hours. All of you, many of you are in other kinds of administrative roles on campus. So the whole office hour thing may not connect really because you're here 8 to 5 every day anyway. But it's good for students to have an idea when it's okay to come see you. Now, obviously, they can make an appointment and email, but it's good to have a window of time when they can say, oh, well, I know I can go see you on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2. That's their time. Okay.
Also, one of the common assignments for EDHE 105, 305 is to have your students come see you maybe twice this semester. So for those that have typical office hours or atypical office hours or a more open office workspace, that's pretty important to go ahead and plan early now that you know that this is a common part of the class. To plan out some time, if you've got shared space with your coworkers, go ahead and start talking to them about it because it is a common part of the class and it gives you a chance to get to know your students and sit one-on-one with them sometimes.
I would also suggest that with your name, also include maybe in parentheses or somewhere what you want them to call you. Some people are a little more formal. They'd rather do Dr., Mr., Miss. Some people are more informal. Go ahead and tell them on the front end what they can call you. That way you don't have to get in the whole negotiation thing. And they don't have to sit there and wonder, what do I call them? Also, contact information. There's 1,000 different ways to contact people in this realm of technology. Okay. decide what's the best way for students to contact you and give them that information. That way you won't be getting emails and calls and tweets and all the other things too. Have a common shoot for emails from students come to you so that they know that you're going to get that information, that it won't get missed. Okay? All right. Also, basic course information, you're not going to have a whole lot of flexibility for this one because that's on the model syllabus. Basic course information essentially is description of course, more importantly, things like the student learning outcomes, the reason for the course, because this becomes essential for assessment later. They need to understand what this course is about and what they're supposed to get from it. So that's in the basic course information, and I think that's a fixed paragraph that all syllabi have to have.
That also includes core curriculum. I mean, we have an activity with sample syllabi for, and I know that was a common question, what does it look like? How do I get this information? We have sample syllabi for you guys to look at.
Books and materials. Now, I think there's some standard books and materials that are common across all EDHE 105 sections. You may have some specific ones that you want to add, which you can do in the personalized version of your syllabus. But they need to know the book, the right edition, the right ISBN number, and I think you said there were specific books for 105.
Yeah, there's so the A Game, the text, Just Mercy, they're specific editions for Ole Miss. When I first started doing this, I had gone off of Amazon and it weren't the right ones, so we've got the specific ISB numbers for the text for this course.
And make sure you have them in your syllabus because the students, just like Rachel, will go to Amazon, they'll try to look for the cheapest version they can get. You know, you'll end up with 40 different versions of the same thing. Okay? So make sure that that's in syllabus, it's in print. Assignments and assessments and due dates. I look at assignments and assessments as the same thing. Essentially they are. Having a calendar of events, and we'll talk a little bit more in the personalized section, but having the due dates in the syllabus, when you're going to cover certain topics, goes a long way to allowing students to be prepared for class. Now I know we have the entire, we can always come back, yeah, I'm not going to read anything, and yada, 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 what am I going to get in trouble for? But if it's in the syllabus, if it's something that they can constantly refer to, then you always have I don't want to say a weapon, but you have a tool to say, oh, well, as you see in the syllabus today, we're going to talk about this. Or actually refer to your syllabus in the class and say, next class, according to the syllabus, we'll be addressing this. Or the due dates for assignments, very important. One of the activities that you have in EDHE 105 and 305 is for them to create a calendar of events. You know, I'm using the right word, the time management calendar, where they're supposed to write in all their assignments so they can plan for them. They can't do that if they don't know the dates. So establish some dates, establish a chronology of topics that you're going to cover. I think you have some flexibility in that area. Put it on paper. You can have some flexibility, but don't be so flexible that there's no reason to look at the syllabus anymore. Okay? Pick out some dates and try to stick with them. Grade information, very important. I think in the model syllabus you're given some grade, how you're going to grade, whether you're going to do percentages or raw score points, whether there's going to be a total. Students really need to have a very good idea of how they're going to get their grade. And they need to be able to track their progress toward their grade. Their grade at the end of the semester should not be a surprise. Now, maybe they don't look, and we can talk about all kinds of funny scenarios about someone expecting an A and getting a C and all that kind of stuff. But if they've got it in the syllabus, and if they can track their assignments and their grades, they should have an expectation of what kind of grade they get at midterm and at final. And that could be a really good source of reflection, too, if you want to do reflective assignments about grades. One thing that I like to do a lot is ask students what kind of grades they received, and if they received good grades, why did they receive good grades? Let them start articulating strategies. If they received bad grades, why did they receive bad grades? Articulate some strategies associated with that. that can be for all their courses, not just EDHE. They can't do that unless they have the grading information. Course the student learning outcomes, in the model syllabus, you will see the student learning outcomes. Student learning outcomes are tied to assessments. Should be a one-on-one correlation between assessment and student learning outcomes. These are what students should be expected to do or be able to do at the end of the course. It's important that they see that list, and it's important to refer to them, I think, throughout the semester so they can track how well they're doing as far as the course is concerned. Also make some good sources of activities for reflection as well. I would also suggest that when you create your assessments and your assignments, maybe add an element to it where the student has to take the assignment and match it to the student learning outcome. So they're tracking their own progress as they go. You're not telling them what they're doing, they're having to figure it out for themselves as well. Did you want to add something there?
Nope, you covered the outcomes.
Okay. And of course, lastly, you have to have the academic policies related to Title IX, to student accommodations, what students who require accommodations, what do they need to do. This is something that they have to initiate for themselves. You can't go looking for them. So they need to know how to do these things. So you need to have those policies in there, as well as the academic integrity policy, which is associated with the CRE. Okay, did you want to say something? Okay, all right. So these are all the essentials. These will be common to all the syllabi. You will be provided a model. The model syllabi will have it in there. But you can make your own syllabus too. You don't have to copy exactly. So we wanted to show you different ways you could tweak your syllabi to create your own syllabus for your section. Remember, I talked to you a little bit about the syllabus is the initial way to establish a relationship between you and your students. What kind of relationship do you want to have? We're going to pass out 3 syllabi. One's the model, and one is from Rachel's section, and one is from Susan Nicholas' section. You'll notice that they have the same information in there, but there are a few differences. What we'd like for you to do in groups,
Because we like each other.
yeah, I'm a group person, is discuss the similarities and the differences among the syllabi. Okay? Make sense? Well, we were supposed to have groups of 4, but we're all sort of coagulated here, so. See, could you 4 be a group of 4? Would you mind working with this young man and this woman over here, this lady, young woman? Sorry. Would you 2 work together? Okay, let's do. Let's see. How many? 4. 4. Dewey, are you playing? Okay, but now, would you mind moseying on down?
How are you?
Yeah.
I'm Zane.
I'm Joe.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So you could be a group.
I've never seen this before. I like that. That's different. I've never used it. I had we don't have to call it.
All right, so
This is the model.
But I like that.
Hey, everybody, let's get back to task.
It sounded like you guys had some good conversations going on with the syllabus. So as you can see, there's one that's bare bones, something to build off of. Mine was the one with the fishbowl on top. And you see, I'm a little wordy. So, so yeah, I'm a little wordy. But what did you guys think? So you've got same information with 3 different formats. Tell me what
Rachel,
you.
can I make a clarification to make sure, because sometimes it gets confusing in the known function.
Absolutely.
In Blackboard, in the content or information section posted, as soon as I get Susan's, she's got a slight change in hers. There'll be 3 syllabus, or syllabi there for you to refer to for information purposes. One is the model, and that's the one that doesn't have any graphics or anything. That's just got bare bones on it, somebody said. That is the model that you can build for. That has been approved by the Provost Office for SACS purposes. The one will be designated Syllabus Example 1, and that's the one, Rachel, that you have there that has the fishbowl on it and border around the pages. And then Susan Nicholas's will be Example 2. And as Nancy very well illustrated, there are certain essential elements in there. And in terms of essential, all that contact information, all that kind of directory information, I call it. And then the purpose of the course has got to be in every syllabus. It will be the same because that comes right out of the catalog. And the core curriculum, the 5 core curriculum elements that must be covered. I'm going to tell you how to cover them, but they must be addressed in the course. And then there are 9 learning outcomes. And those are, once you get past there, and getting to the learning outcomes and getting the core curriculum elements covered, that's where you personalize and can do your thing, which they're going to be talking about. But the model is a model, but it's not the syllabus. It's a model for you to work from, and examples of how that was done by Rachel and by Susan Nicholas, I think, are excellent in those 2, what we will identify as Example 1 and Example 2.
And I have a handout because, again, I like to kill trees because I like stuff. I've got a handout with all of that information listed very clearly without everything else, so very easy to copy and paste. And it'll be posted on Blackboard. And then I have another handout that's just the highlights.
What were some things that you noticed? Basically, the essential information was demonstrated, illustrated, whatever the word, on all 3 syllabi, the model plus the two samples. What are some other things that you noticed? Yes?
Pictures of the books are a great idea.
Pictures of the books are great ideas. Why?
One of the students make sure that their book actually matches what we say that it should be, and 2, I like pictures.
Yeah, I mean, how many of us like to match pictures? We've been matching pictures since pre-kindergarten. I would much rather look for the thing that looks like the thing on me versus read the description. Okay? So having pictures is good. You don't have to have pictures, but having pictures is good. A lot of times when you change editions and change ISBN numbers, they change colors on the doolally. What do you call it?
Cover.
The cover. I don't have any words anymore. So it's easy to go do a quick fix. Anything else? Notice?
We were just wondering about the color. Are color copiers available in,
Yes, in
Okay.
our office, copiers available to any of you, whatever you need.
You got the source right there. Anything else?
Well, so communication is really important. So I noticed on Susan Nicholas' syllabus, she has 2 peer leaders.
Right.
And so one of them allows text, which could be, I can see a lot of students liking that aspect, that they're able to text the communication, whereas Susan, she did not provide a text, but the peer leaders did, which gave a different way of communication for the students.
Right, and plus you could also argue there's a different sort of relationship between peer-on-peer versus instructor-peer. So therefore, they should be, in my opinion, the peers should be more accessible and should probably be the first wave of access with the instructor than over the instructor. Other, Michael, oh, I'm sorry.
On Susan's, it didn't appear to have like a summary of the assignments and grades and stuff like that, whereas Rachel's
Okay, okay, good. I mean, we're just looking at the what you see that's different. It's not like one's good over the other, but it's just different ways of looking at
I
it.
think what also we discussed was that not only the overview, but Rachel mentioned purpose of what the purpose of each assignment was, and that was wonderful to see.
Yeah, yeah. I do like, personally, I like assessment. I think it's important that students understand why they're doing things, so they don't approach things as a hoop jumping activity to get the grade. So there's got to be some sort of connection between purpose and assignment, I think. I mean, that's good to include, I should say. Anybody else notice anything that was, yes?
Total have contracts, how you sign.
Okay, so make contracts to sign, right? Was it, who was it, Susan or you? Susan had a contract, right? Right?
So just, oh, go
I
ahead,
was
sorry.
gonna say, I like the accountability, like partner, find someone else in your class to touch base with. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So there's the same information, but different ways to present it, and that is completely up to you, how you want to set that up. We just want to give you examples of what that could look like.
And we want you to understand that you can have a syllabus that is unique to your section. I think it's kind of good to come up with something that would be unique for your section, because you will have your own learning community, as it were. So everybody will link together as EDHE 105, 305 proper, and then there's your own special little nest. Does that make sense? So it's good to personalize it. So one thing I think you might have noticed is the tone of the syllabus. There's research to show that if your syllabus has an open and warm tone, students are more responsive to it. Now there's a couple of things. I know all of you have been to school and graduate school, and you have the 25-pound syllabus, and a lot of it sounds very formal. It sounds like a legal document. I like aforementioned. I love that word. But it is sort of, it does require a certain distance. It does establish a certain distance. And actually, it usually is a power move on instructors' parts to come up with a very formal syllabus, so sort of scare people into doing what they're supposed to be doing. But students actually like more personalized speech. And I think, especially, and this is just my opinion, for freshmen, as this is their first experience with some college classes, they're already intimidated enough, and I think part of the foundation for EDHE 105 is to create a transitional space for students. So, lowering that affect, lowering the anxiety associated with your syllabus by having a friendly tone, speaking in first person. If you're a formal writing person, I know this just flies all over you, but actually use I and you when you're talking about requirements and what your expectations for them and their expectations of you will help provide a better relationship to start, a certain level of trust, and maybe allow students a little more freedom to even ask questions and not be afraid of you. Does that make sense? I don't want to sound all touchy-feely. I know we don't like to go there, but it does help that first day to read something that they would probably read, right on their own or read it back home. So tone, you can also contextualize expectations. This goes back to what we talked about before, actually having the assignments and assessments that you have relate to what the point of the course is. Students don't naturally do that. They just don't. They like lists of things. I'm a big Yahoo list person myself. I mean, I don't really care about rhyme or reason. Just tell me what I got to do to change the battery in my car. Okay, I don't care how it works. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do. So students aren't naturally going to go there. They're not used to doing that. So having you give a rationale for why you list the expectations that you do helps them with their understanding, and also helps with a certain level of motivation, right? It's not just you just listing something for me to do just to do something, right? There's a reason for it. And students, even though they're 18, they still kind of fall into that adult learning theory. We all want to know why we're doing stuff. right? You want to know that it's just not just something that you're pulling out of a hat to give me a grade. So contextualizing your assignments, your expectations, any behavioral kind of expectations you would have for students in class in terms of respecting other people. They're used to those kinds of expectations. Having a good relationship in class, being able to move through class so that everybody can offer opinions without feeling punished is important. So contextualizing your expectations is very important. Your policies and criteria that might affect grades. Now, there are some things in the model that you have to put in there, obviously, but there's some decisions that you can make too. Are you going to accept late work?
That's a biggie.
Okay. Are there going to be consequences for late work? Are you going to let them call you Friday night before a test, on Thursday night before a test? Yeah. Those kinds of things. Are you going to let people yell at their peers or yell at you? Whatever kind of policies you want to create as far as like homework, absences, tardies, those are things that you can decide for yourself. But you need to make those decisions on the front end because it's hard to make those decisions once the semester starts. So go ahead and think about how you want the class to be, how you want the students to behave, how you want to treat grades and assignments in class. Let them know at the front and then stick to it throughout the semester. You won't have as much problems. Does that make sense? Once you establish, once you create the standard, then barring any terrible mishap, that's the standard. And once they know that, I mean, they'll push you a couple of times, but if you stick with it, eventually you won't have a lot of problems. Does that make sense? But that's a personal choice.
And everybody needs a policy with respect to cell phones. Because they are our enemy.
I'd like to also include, think about how you want to handle respect in your classroom. Just mercy, social justice. The whole point of EDHE, well, not one of the points of EDHE, is to introduce different perspectives, different opinions, and they need to know that not everyone's going to, God bless you, not everyone's going to share their opinion, and that's okay. They don't have to agree with everybody, but they do have to respect it. So that's something that, speaking with my coworker Mariana here, is something that I've started included in my own syllabus because I want them to know, yes, I want us to be able to talk about these things in a safe place where you can politely agree to disagree with somebody and everyone still walk out feeling good about each other and not going, oh, well, I can't stand this class now because my opinion's not respected. So that might be something to really consider. It's not required, but I think it's a good idea to consider in your syllabus.
Rachel, can I add to what you just said?
Absolutely.
The English department has a clause on their website. It's a diversity and respect clause. You don't have to copy that whole thing, but I got the idea from that because it just talks about, different ideas, and we're a diverse campus, and the creed, and, I think it just sets the tone. So if you don't want to look at what they have, it's got some good wording.
And I want to jump to the cell phone. Copy it. I lost my words. But anyway, if you want to utilize your cell phone as a tool of some sort to play things like Kahoots, if you're going to do games in the class or searches, that's certainly a good way to use your cell phone, but you'll have to be very specific when you're describing what you will accept and not accept for cell phones. And once you put cell phones in, you're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to need to be walking around the class to make sure people are using it the way they're supposed to be using it. But whatever you do with cell phones, if you don't have them, then you're not going to be able to use some of these other things. If you do have them, you need to make sure you have a clear definition of how they can be used and how they cannot be used.
I include laptops in that.
Right. Okay, so these are different ways that you can personalize your syllabus. You can put pictures in, put pictures of yourself, put pictures of your mentors. You can use a friendly tone. You can augment the policies that are already in the model. Definitely create a calendar for your assignments. Some of these things are already going to be given to you, aren't you? I think for EHU 105 and 305, you're given a calendar of events at the beginning of the semester.
They will be.
Okay, so you'll have some events that are already there. Then you can sort of chronologically arrange the topics as best that will fit the events that are already there. And even your own travel events. Traveling meaning you're going to go to campus sites and things like that. Okay, now, we already talked about this, and linking assignments with course goals, we've talked about that. Encouraging student feedback. This is also a way you can personalize your syllabus. Put something in there that gives students permission to let you know what's going on in the class, or let you know that something's not going right in the class, or something they would like to have addressed in the class. Give them permission and tell them how to provide that feedback to you. Okay? Since it is a relationship, it would be good that they have the opportunity to say, you know, I don't like all these reflections. Gives you an opportunity to explain why they need to reflect. Or if they have an idea of a place that you should go, or they have a question about some part of campus, or if they want to go see a certain part of campus, give them an opportunity to contribute to the class as well. And include that. Some sort of caveat in your syllabus of how best that they can provide you feedback on either the assessments, the assignments, the textbook, something. Let them know that you're interested in hearing what they have to say. Okay.
Nancy?
Yes, ma'am.
To expand on that, in my class I have something called the free 5, and we do that the first 5 minutes of class, and they can talk about anything. So the only caveat is that they have to be respectful and only one person talk at a time. So sometimes it's about something that's happened on campus, sometimes it's I hate my roommate, or I don't understand this assignment in this other class, or I don't know where to go for something. A lot of times it's just an opportunity to vent about assignments, tests, that sort of thing. But I think telling them they're going to have that at the beginning of every class really encourages them to participate and listen and oftentimes help each other. They'll say, oh, I just had to do that and this is how I did it. So it's not necessarily me writing all the answers. It's just another way to build some community in the class.
Yes, and it also gives them a sense of control as well, which is always important. There's some other techniques I've listed in the a link here, and you'll have it on Blackboard as well. It's called the Accessible Syllabus. It's got a lot of great information. It's just I wish I could say it was mine, but it's not. We're from Southern 37, or is it 2-line? It's probably 2-line. But different ways of organizing your syllabus, different ways of using graphics, different ways of stating things in your syllabus. You might give that a gander, as it were, and see if there's something you could derive from that. Okay, so once you've done all this work on the syllabus, are they going to read it? Do you want them to read it? Yeah, you want people to read this stuff, right? You did go to some time. And many of you said, I'm pretty sure you were in college, because when I was in college, which was 1,000 years ago, I looked at syllabus the same way. Okay, that's that thing. They have to go over 30 minutes of class, first day of class, then we just leave, and I never look at it again. Okay? So, you want to make the syllabus a reference tool. Now, we'll talk a little bit about this on managing the class and doing things on day one. I'm not a big proponent of let's go over the syllabus on the first day. I just don't, no. Primarily because it's boring, and you're basically reading through something and they're just sitting there listening. So I'm more for interactive kind of things on the first day. So, if you want students to read the syllabus and read it through without you having to read it to them, okay, make it a base of a learning activity. ensure that they use it as a reference throughout the semester and start it from day one. So there are all kinds of things that you can do with the syllabus to encourage them to read it without reading it to them. Okay? So how can you do it? There are all kinds of activities you can do. Give out the syllabus and have students create questions about the syllabus. You can give the syllabus as a homework assignment. And then when they come back the next day, you can give them a blank syllabus with blanks in it. And they have to fill out the information that's left blank. You can do a syllabus quiz. It's very popular. I do this in all my online classes. Everybody has a syllabus quiz. So at the end of the semester, when they say, I don't know, I say, hey, you made 100 on this test. Obviously, you knew at some point. There are also things like syllabus bingo or a scavenger hunt with your syllabus. You can embed like cute little things in your syllabus for people to find. And other. Does anybody have any other kind of activities that they might do with the syllabus? Rachel, you had a great one.
I heard of jigsaw syllabus, and based on how many students you have in your class, let's say you have 20 students in your class, and you want them to end up in groups of 5 groups of 4, then you can have pieces of 5 syllabi floating around, and they have to get together to piece it together. So at the end, you've got a complete syllabus. Of course, everyone will have a copy by the end of class, but that's one way. I've had classes say, oh, I don't know who all's here because I don't know who all's in my class, and this is a good way to start building community so they recognize each other, at least know each other's faces, establish that at the beginning, and then prepare them for group work. They've got to work together to build a complete syllabus for this activity. So that's one that I thought I'd try this year, is the jigsaw syllabus.
We actually created a syllabus activity for you. I don't know if we're going to have time to do it. We're at 1:48 on our time. We've got 10 minutes. I don't know. You think you can do 5 minutes, do syllabus bingo? No? Yes? Yes? Okay, we'll give it a couple minutes. So I don't think I'll have sheets for everybody because more people came than what I thought. So maybe if we do 1 for 2. This is based on Susan Nicholas' syllabus, which is what you already have.
Can we write on this?
Yes, you may write on this. Whoever is able to get bingo gets a point.
So I have it down. You can have my back. All right, read the question.
125 plus
2. I believe, right?
How many assignments results?
Bingo is like you get D 42.
Where's all communication? Pavilion. How many journal entries? Journal entries.
Yes,
I guess that's
It must.
Bingo.
Yeah.
how you do it.
Who got bingo?
Who enrolls in this Stuff you get on journal entries. I know. Just looking at more journal. This one, there's 2 actually. Three groups.
Y'all got a bingo? Okay, I just bring that in swag.
Wow. I wasn't even thinking about, I was just answering the question. Yeah, I hadn't played bingo in so long.
Okay, so we can do one more bingo person, and they're a little stress ball and a computer connected thing.
Post it. Want me to show it to you?
Handwriting's pretty bad.
Okay.
Oh, black.
She actually had, she's on her We got another bingo.
Black. Black. Okay, what is that?
We got one over here. And since we're down to our last few minutes, I'll kind of hit on some miscellaneous points, kind of deal. Syllabus on the first day or not first day, completely up to you, but I do recommend you cover it sometime within the first week, within that first week. Somebody also asked, is it common for instructors to give out their cell phone numbers? I have both done it and not done it, and I'll tell you now, I prefer not to do it. Simply because if you do, not saying that it's wrong to do it, if you do, be sure to establish very firm parameters and boundaries as to when you will accept calls and when you will not. I have been at home with my mom in the hospital, and I'm getting texts at midnight about assignments. So be sure to set very clear boundaries should you choose to give out your cell phone number. There are a couple of other miscellaneous.
Okay, I think we addressed most of the questions. Is there any question that we did not address except for the updating the calendar one?
So updating your calendar, if you choose to do a calendar of events, I would recommend, even if you don't give it to your students, do one for you. Once the semester gets going and you get busy, you're going to be really, really happy to have some kind of a guide as to what you cover next in class. If you do give it to your students, be sure to put the disclaimer that it is tentative and subject to change. Subject to change does not mean a complete overhaul, but you might swap out a lesson here for there. Let them know when guest speakers are coming. Give them a heads up. I tell them that it does count as attendance, and I actually count it more, especially if we're leaving the classroom, because it's really easy to be like, oh, we're not in the classroom, she's not paying attention. Yes, I am paying attention. How you want to address that is completely up to you. But changing or updating your schedule of events, look at it regularly. If it happens, change. Just let them know already. It's tentative and subject to change, so you might be swapping a lesson here or there. Jumping off of that, how you set it up in Blackboard, because I used to put everything in Blackboard, and then by midterms, according to Blackboard, everybody has Fs because there's only half of the assignments filled in. So that's something else to consider. Do you want to just set up to midterms and then update the rest of it? And we don't cover Blackboard, that's a whole nother training, but that's something to consider when you're thinking updating your course calendar or how you want to set that up for points.
What about the plus minus system for grades?
Oh, well, Dewey, I think I'll defer to you on that one.
We don't want plus minus grades in this course. It ends up hurting the students. The minus grades really impact them if they are trying to change majors or something and they can't. They have to have a 2.5 or whatever, and they made a C minus, particularly that C minus grade that acts very negative towards students. So we want, the advisory council has dealt with this, to University policy, instructors can give plus minus grades, but in this course, or these courses, 305 and 105, we want A, B, C, D, F, no pluses, no minuses. I also mentioned, some of you will start tweaking on your syllabus, and you look at the one from last year, if you talk to craft. One thing to keep in mind, an event that was pretty much universally included on the syllabus was for reflective response papers, was Rebel Run. There will not be a Rebel Run this fall. And so make sure you take that one out, come up with a new one. There will be Creed Week activities. That's another common event included in the syllabus. And we definitely want Creed Week for the second week of school. And there are definitely some excellent events being scheduled in connection with Creed Week by the ASP. But no Rebel Run.
I'm just gonna take them to the intramural field and make them sprint if y'all.
So as far as the question is how to effectively plan a semester and be intentional with scheduling, I think the first place to go is see what's already been scheduled, put that on, populate your calendar with that, and then look at the events coming up so that whatever event is tied to certain criteria in your textbook, try to ensure that you're covering topics associated with that event around that time. So that at least helps you sort of plan topics.
The library sessions will be scheduled, and we're going to get you those dates much earlier than Cecilia talked about earlier. You've got to do your syllabus. I can't wait for that. And the active shooter presentation by UPD, those will be scheduled for you. They'll be scheduled early in the semester in September, and you'll have those dates fairly early. So those are done. Convocation is a requirement for this course. That'll be August 22nd at 7 p.m. in the pavilion. That's when the formal beginning of their career at Ole Miss begins. The Common Read author Ryan Stevenson will be the keynote speaker, and that's at 7 p.m. And that's when they receive their coins, their class coins. And we need instructors. You need to put that on the calendar. You need to be there with your class. Could you help distribute those coins?
We could have put a hole in it so people wear them. Okay, there will be a place on Blackboard for y'all to ask other questions, I think throughout the training and throughout the semester. They'll establish a space for that. If you don't have any other questions, Rachel is collecting the handouts so we can use them for the next workshops. Thank you, and I hope you have a good